everyone. Welcome back to Just Spiritually Speaking. I am Don. I'm joined today by, of course, Tanisha and Angie, my co-creators of this organization. And today we are blessed. And when I say that, I do not exaggerate it. We are blessed because we have the one and only Katherine Metcalf. Yay! Katherine is an astrologer, a psychic, you name it, she can do it. She's gotten it done. And most importantly, she's a community builder. And that's an exciting thing to do as well. So today's conversation is going to be over a wide number of things. And with that said, let's kick it off with Katherine. Just tell us, how in the heck did you get here?
Oh my gosh. Well, my mom and dad had sex. And then
like the very beginning.
I was not prepared.
I'm trying to make the blooper reel.
There you go.
Let's see. Okay.
At least now we know it wasn't divine.
What, honey?
At least now we know it wasn't divine.
Oh God, no. Let's see. Well, I've had some psychic gifts since I was a kid, and I believe that we all have gifts. It's just a matter of tuning in and listening to them. And it's like playing the piano. The more that you play, the better you get. So, but I started having, I could see things, hear things. I'm clairaudient and I know things. And I also smelled things when I was a little kid. I would actually, my mom passed away when I was 3, and I was raised by my aunt and uncle. And I kept smelling flowers all the time when I was growing up, especially if I was sad. And I couldn't quite figure out why, because I would walk around the house and look for flowers and there weren't any. And I found out later, because I had 2 real sisters. They were 10 and 8. I was 3. And my aunt took me in, and my uncle, who was a minister, took in my 2 oldest sisters, because it was my mom's dying wish. She wanted us to stay within the family. So, but nobody could afford to take on 3 girls. So Linda and Debbie were really, really close. So anyways, I didn't realize what the flower smell was until we got together with my true sisters, and they were like, oh, well, Mom used to wear lilac toilet water, because we were poor. We didn't have perfume. It was called toilet water.
I was like, where is she going with toilet water?
You say it sounds better.
Yeah, it was my first experience at going, oh, I'm sensing stuff that's, there, but I'm not seeing it, So I think I was probably about 7 when I finally figured out that, that was my mom trying to come around and comfort me. So, then I had stuff, when I was 13 is when I got my first astrology book, and just started figuring out, I think maybe because I was adopted, I wanted to know who I was. Who am I? I started asking that really young. And maybe it's because I didn't have my real, family, my biological family around me. So I think I wanted to figure out who I was. And then that took me to astrology. I was really into Greek mythology at a very young age. So while everybody else was, dating in high school, I dated and stuff in high school, but I was like, well, let me look at the chart. Let me whip up your chart and see if you're a good match, or if you need to dump him. So at 16 years old, I was whipping up astrology charts by hand. And it used to take me about 8 hours to do one chart. I know Angie's face. And what's really funny is I'm a Gemini, and we usually can't sit still that long. So So, so I just got into astrology at a really young age. And so I had the intuition. I knew when my grandfather was going to pass away. You know, he had just gotten home from the hospital and everybody was relieved that he was home and doing well. And I just got this knowing that he was going to be leaving the planet like in 2 days. And I told my dad, it was his father. And I said, I think, you know, you better call him and let him know how you're feeling and that you love him and say thanks and whatever you want to say, because he's not going to be around long. And then my parents just looked at me like, okay, we think she's a little nutty. But my dad, because I would not let it alone, I was like, you have to call him. So he did. And my grandfather died the next morning. So now I haven't had that happen again, which is weird. So, but for some reason, I really connected with him and he wanted me to know he was going. So let's see what else. So I've had some medium stuff. I got into tarot when I was 18 and I was out in Arizona. I had gotten into Arizona State. I was so excited because I grew up in Iowa and my grandparents lived in Arizona. So I used to go out there on vacation. And from the time I was, you know, like 15 or 14, something like that. And I would always go to the ASU campus and walk around and I'd be like so in love with the sunshine and, you know, it's so different, you know, than Iowa. And then there were all these cute boys with dark tans and puka shell necklaces. And I was like, oh, I am going to school here. So
I like how you chose your school. It had nothing to do with academics.
Nothing.
So yeah, and the year that I went to ASU, they like won the #1 party school, you know. So I was like, yep, that's where I'm going.
I knew it. I knew you had the party animal in you.
So I came down here and I met my best friend and she actually did tarot and had done it for many years. So so she did a lot of readings for me. And it was like after that period, you know, I picked up tarot cards. And so, yeah, so years later, I mean, I did my best. I got a college degree, you know, I got married. I did all those things that you're supposed to do to make you happy, right? You have a business, you have, you know, a spouse, you got a house, you got all this stuff, you know. And then I had my midlife awakening, which is what I like to call it, because everybody else calls it a freaking crisis, which it can be. It all depends on how you look at it. So, so at my midlife awakening, which is a real astrological hit, it's Uranus, which is the rebel planet, opposing your natal Uranus. And so when that happens, and it used to happen like between the ages of 38 and 42, and now, now it seems to be happening a little bit later. You know, probably because Uranus's orbit's a little wobbly. So, so I'm starting to see it a lot more in people around 44. But what happened? Angie, tell me, are you in it?
2017 is when Uranus just tore my life apart. And my sister told me about it. And I was like, I don't like Uranus at all. I'm not going to acknowledge it. So everything you're saying is so like, I feel like we're like sisters.
I get it. I get it. And Uranus can be a real kick in the butt if you're not ready, you know, that Uranus opposition. But the purpose of it is it's there to shake up your life. It is there for you to review your life and decide what's working and what's not. And if you've been like putting up with something for a long time, you know, and keeping your mouth shut or whatever, biting your tongue, it's like it's going to come in and make it so hard, impossible for you to continue on that path. So it's there for a reason. It's there for our highest good. You know, I do believe that. So so when I had mine, I had the incredible opportunity to go to Greece. And Greece is a country that I've always wanted to go to. You know, since I was a little kid, I had Greek neighbors, and, you know, growing up in Iowa, which is very white bread, I had Greek neighbors, and I loved their house because I would go over there and they'd be yelling at each other and throwing stuff, dancing and drinking ouzo. So, and then I did the mythology studies. So I got this opportunity and I was like, oh my God, I'm going. And I owned at that time a food brokerage company. It was like show and tell with gourmet food to the chefs around town, which was great fun for a while. But I was the one and only woman in the state of Arizona, woman-owned food broker. And I was one person, and I competed with, it was very male dominated, and I competed with big companies that had 30 people out on the street. So I worked my butt off. I made 6 figures. I was doing really good for 12 years. And then I was like, hit a wall. And that happened about the same time as my Uranus, opposing Uranus. And I'd been married for 11 years, and my marriage was kind of stressed. So I actually pulled a Shirley Valentine. Has anybody seen that movie?
No.
So you all have homework now. So there's a movie called Shirley Valentine, and it's English. It's hard to get your hands on it, but she actually was kind of in the same situation I was in. And she was, she got an offer to go to Greece, and she put a little note on a Post-it note to her husband and stuck it on a picture of Greece. And she said, I'll be back in 2 weeks. Gone to Greece.
Wow.
So that's what I did. So I left and I went on the most incredible vacation. And, you know, and I thought for sure, now, you know, for those of us that are woo-woos, you know, I think that we have this, I had this visualization of myself going to the Parthenon and being able to hug, you know, one of those great big columns. And I just knew I would get this like past life download, and it would tell me which direction I was supposed to go. And it didn't happen. I mean, people had to think I was nuts. I was running from column to column, you know, where's my talking column?
Wow.
So I didn't get the big awakening there. Barbara Bush was there when I was there, so that was kind of cool to.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Barbara Bush is how you got your awakening.
Oh my God. And I'm about as far away from that politically as you can get. So I ended up going to Crete. And then when I was on the beautiful Minoan island of Crete is where I had my past life thing. I went to the Minoan palace, and I was like, I knew where everything was, and some things were changed. And so I had this big past life thing there. And then I sat on the balcony of this beautiful resort I was staying at, and I had a glass of wine looking out at the Mediterranean Sea. And I was like, okay, it was like I finally had downtime to go, who am I? Why am I here? Okay. So I actually took the time to get out my own astrology chart. Because it's kind of like, you know, you're a mechanic and you work on everybody else's stuff. And then you go, oh, maybe I should look at my own shit. So I did. So I looked at my own chart in depth and at the, you know, transiting planets and the progress chart and And it was so clear. It's like I have my son in the 8th house, you know, which is a psychic house. I have my moon in Scorpio, which is a psychic place to have it, or psychotic, depending on who you talk to.
Aw.
We get a little moody. And I had a really strong Uranus, you know, and Uranus rules astrology. So I had all these things pointing to everything that I had followed with my heart in my life, you know, it was all there for a reason. So it was very clear to me at that point that, you know, I needed to come back and change my life drastically. And I needed to follow my heart. The business that I had been running for 12 years, it wasn't speaking to me anymore. So I wanted to nurture people, not with food, but with heart and soul. So yeah, so I actually just took all that knowledge that I had basically of astrology, and I expounded on that. When I came back from Greece, I found an astrology store. I took classes. I became certified as an astrologer. Like you guys are taking, you know, all these classes, developing your psychic gifts. That's something I had done off and on for years. So, yeah, so when I came back, I totally changed my life. I mean, 180 degrees. I divorced my husband. I moved. It's okay. We're still friends. He's a nice guy. So, so I moved from Peoria to Phoenix, and I, you know, took over a year's worth of astrology classes, and then I hung up my shingle and started doing readings full time.
Wow. I felt like I just saw a complete movie just listening to you talk. Like that was amazing. So I did notice on your site you mentioned that you had studied all these different religions. What led you to do that, or what made you want to, you know, also incorporate that into your astrology? Or was that just like, oh, let's just see?
Yeah, I think I've always craved a connection, you know. And so from the time I was a little kid, I believed in reincarnation. So, you know, I knew that I had lived somewhere in Greece. I had this really strong affinity for India and for Hinduism. And I remember when I was so I had friends who were Catholic when I was in junior high, you know, that kind of thing. I thought, oh, this is fun, because I was raised Presbyterian, which is really boring. So, and, you know, I mean, I barely made it through confirmation because I asked too many questions. And the minister came to the house and he sat my parents down and he was like, if she doesn't stop asking questions, she's going to hell.
Wow. That sounds about right, though.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
So I think that, yeah, I've just, you know, Geminis, we're curious. I've always wanted that, you know, connection. And so when I studied comparative religions in high school, you know, we studied Hinduism, it so spoke to me, you know, so I'm sure, and I've been to India as well. I had the opportunity to go do that a few years ago. So, but yeah, I love the ritual of Catholicism, because they walked down the aisle with the swinging incense. I was like, ooh, I like that. And then, you know, they would get up and down and do exercises. And I thought that was awesome.
You make it seem so fun. I'm like, that's not how I remember it.
Oh, no.
So I have over the years, and I've studied Judaism and, oh my God, I can't even think of all of them. So the Kabbalah, I studied the Kabbalah. That was fascinating. So I think I have I've always been curious, I think, of how people believe what they believe and why they believe that. And to me, I just took my favorite parts of every religion that I studied, and I just squished them all together. So
I like that.
yeah, I'm not a traditional religious person. I'm a spiritual person. So
Angie and I were kind of just having this conversation earlier today about, you know, why people get so hung up on who other people pray to or what other people pray to, right?
right.
I mean, and I was brought up Baptist Christian, so the only thing I knew was God, right? And if you study his word, it says every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess. So it doesn't matter who you pray to, at some point you're going to cry out to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
yeah, I've
that's
never,
the way I look at it.
Yeah, I've never believed that one religious belief is better than another. You know, I think
Right.
Whatever works for you, you know, if it heals your soul, that's a beautiful thing. And if you have faith,
Right.
that's incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you still do your charts by hand?
I actually, that's a good question. I actually do handwrite. When people do have a reading with me, I do it on the computer now because they have computer systems, programs that all you do is type in their name, their birth date, you know, and bada bing, bada boom, it's right there. So I look at the chart, but I analyze it myself. So when people do have readings with me, they do get 2 or 3 pages of handwritten notes along with the computerized stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you get into numerology?
You know, I think it's just I think they're all connected. It's just one of those things. And numbers have always fascinated me. You know, I just read, it's funny, I was at my mom's house last night and she had a People magazine. And I just read about Jennifer Aniston, and she has 1111 tattooed on her wrist. And I'm like, oh, I see that number all the time. So it's just that kind of thing. I don't think I had one thing that led me to numerology, or if it found me. Right? Yeah.
Can you help people understand how numerology speaks to us?
Well, you know, I like to be the go-between in information. So, you know, there's a belief in numerology that everything just relates back to numerology. So, or to numbers, right? And for those people that do the coding on computers, it's all, you know, zeros and whatever. So, but I recommend, you know, this book. I'm not an expert in numerology. I have a great friend in Phoenix who's an incredible numerologist, a couple of them. But when I see numbers over and over and over again, I'll go to this book, you know, it's angel numbers, and I'll just open it up and go, okay, this is the number I saw today. What does it mean? Yeah. So I see 333 a lot. So I just look it up in this little book, and it says, you are completely surrounded, protected, loved, and guided by benevolent ascended masters.
That's the number I want. Yeah.
Yeah.
We needed that book a couple months ago when you kept seeing all the numbers.
I know. They kept repeating over and over again. I was like, what is happening here?
What was the numbers you kept seeing?
Lots of ones, and then some twos started popping up, but mostly ones.
Yeah.
Didn't you have some fours too?
There was at one point the fours started popping up.
Oh yeah, the fours everywhere, yeah.
Yep, and then we sat down in a group of 4, and then the card deck had 44 cards, and the number I drew was number 4. And it was like, okay, this is crazy. Everything was 4 that day.
Oh, interesting. Well, see, 4 says the angels are with you. They send you number 4 to reassure you that they've heard your prayers and are helping you.
Oh, I like that. So Katherine, with numerology not being quite your specialty, let's get back to what your specialty is, and that is astrology. Go ahead and share with us any more information or some other things about astrology and things that we need to understand if we were to come to you and get an astrology reading.
That's a good question. So I love astrology, and to me, it's one of those things that proves how unique each individual is. So when you have an astrology chart done, nobody has your exact chart for thousands of years. So I know we're all given just amazing gifts and talents that we're supposed to come here and share. So it's an amazing thing. And so people, most people will know their sun sign, right? Which is based on the month and the day. But they don't know their rising sign, which is based on the time that you were born. And they don't realize that there's, all these other planets. So the sun is where we naturally shine, but the moon is our emotional side. So, and it's our intuitive side. And when you're in a love relationship, the moon signs are more important to be compatible than the sun sign. Oh, Angie's going, oh my God, something new. So we can suggest sun signs for you for Mr. Wonderful, right? We can suggest, but when you're in a relationship, it's your moon sign compatibility that's really going to determine how easily you get along in an environment where you're living together.
So are you saying that you could be a sign that isn't necessarily compatible, but if your moon sign is a compatible moon sign in an incompatible other sign, then you could actually turn out to be a good relationship?
Yeah.
Wow, I did not understand that before.
I know, mind blown.
Actually, yeah, because you always hear, like, oh, stay away from them. But it's like, not necessarily, because that moon could be shining bright.
Right. And we have Mercury. Mercury is a really important planet to look at because it's a planet of communication. Usually it's close to it's always close to your sun. But it's either like I'm a Gemini, but I'm only 0 degrees Gemini out of 30. So I'm at the day I was born 3 minutes into Gemini. So
wow.
I have a lot of Taurus, the bull, like I'm built like a Taurus, so next time I'm coming back as a skinny Gemini girl. So enough of the bull.
Every time someone says they have a vision of me, I'm like, was I skinny? Every time, I always ask.
I love it. So, but Mercury tells us, but my Mercury's in Taurus. Okay. So even though I talk really fast, I think slowly. So, and I'm one of those girls that I need to read and reread something for it to absorb into me. And that's why, just trusting my intuition is way better for me than, taking the time to read and reread everything. But yeah, depending on where your Mercury is, you want that to be compatible as well. So, if you're a free thinking, Sagittarius, and your mind is like, oh, I want to learn all these different philosophies and things, but you're with somebody who has Mercury in Virgo or Mercury in Capricorn, an earth element, they may be more set in their ways and they may not care about other philosophies. Okay. So, and that can play out in relationships as well. So, and I actually saw it a lot. There was a few years there where everybody was getting diagnosed with ADHD, all the kids, and it's, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know, if ADHD is a real thing, but it's like, if you look at the Mercuries of the kid and the parent, it's like you can at least suggest this is what your child needs in communication. This is what the parent needs. This is how you can help, that kind of thing. So it's helpful to know the Mercuries, and then there's Venus, which is a planet of beauty and love. And there's, in a man's chart, in a straight man's chart, you look at Venus, to see what kind of woman they're attracted to. And with Mars, Mars is the physical sex drive and the energy. And we all have Venus and Mars. We all have male and female in each one of us. But in a straight woman's chart, you're going to look for Mars and see what kind of man she's attracted to. So, yeah.
So if I was to get, like, if we were to, book a session with you, about how long is a session?
It's an hour to an hour and a half. So, okay. Yeah. So when you do that, I don't ever just do your birth chart. So I do your birth chart, but that's just the starting point. So that's a foundation. It's a photograph of where the planets were the day you were born. So it shows us your gifts and talents and things that you may experience. But then we also do a progressed chart. So, and a progressed chart is the belief that for every year that you are alive, your chart moves 1 degree per year. So, now that I'm in my 60s, I started out as a Gemini. So I had 30 years of being a Gemini because I was born at 0 degrees Gemini. Then at 31, I moved into Cancer. And now next year, I get to move into Leo.
Oh my God.
I know.
So I had someone do a solar return chart this year for my birthday. And she did it all, like it was all written out, and she sent it to me. It was such an information overload because we didn't do a session. She just sends it to you in an email, and I totally did not understand any of it because it's an enormous amount of information. Yeah. Do you do different charts like that? And of them, is one more important than the other, or should they all, be like they complement each other and you should do them all anyway?
Yeah. So that's a great question. So solar return chart should be done around your birthday. So maybe a month before up to a month after, because you're going to start feeling the changes, around that time. So the solar return chart just looks at your chart for this year when the sun returns back to the location it was at your birth. So, and it'll tell you the energy, it'll do a chart for that day, but it lasts the whole year. So they can be really freakishly accurate. The program I have is really accurate. But I suggest having a reading done at least once a year. And, a lot of people do it around their birthday. A lot of people do it at the beginning of the year. I have a couple of people that just, they do it in June or they do it in September or whatever, whenever they started. But it's a great thing to do to check in because along with the birth chart, it's the progress chart. And then it's also the transits, where the planets are now and how they're going to be affecting you. So when they come to me, they get a whole year's worth of personalized horoscope. So
then you annotate the chart, kind of indicating with all that information, what information you annotate where that information that's more important, or it's more. I mean, you point out what because again, with so much information, you're like for a layperson, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I have all this information, I don't know where to start. I guess you highlight it and you say, look, this is good information. Take your time when you have time, but this is what is the more important thing to really get from this and to take from it. Am I right on that or what?
Yes. Yeah, I do that. And I'll ask the person when they make the appointment with me, what is your focus? What is it that you really need to know or want to know? And so for some people, it's just their career. For some people, it's, when is Mr. Wonderful coming? And for some people, it's their family or where should I live? I mean, there's astrology called astrolocality where you can actually, put your birth chart into anywhere in the world and it will tell you what your life would be like there.
Oh, wow.
Good location for you to live or not, So yeah, so there's compatibility charts, so there's all different kinds of things that astrology can help you with. It's amazing.
So if I don't know what I want, do you suggest one for me or?
No, you're going to get all of You're going to get all of the
Okay.
information. And I mean, astrology will point out, depending on where the transiting planets are, if you've got a lot of planets aspecting like your 10th house of your career, then I know that career is going to be a focus for you. Okay. So, but I go through and I read your entire report, which is, you know, about 80 pages long, because you actually get your own personalized daily horoscope for a year. But I go through, I read the entire thing and I highlight the major aspects for you. So, and I do a little, like a cheat sheet, you know? So some people don't have good attention spans, you know? And so the cheat sheet is a good tool to have, because you can go, oh, nothing major this month, you know, how's the next month looking? Oh, yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that when you were explaining astrology, that nobody has your birthday for thousands and thousands of years, right?
Right.
What's the oldest chart you've ever read? Or do you ever just think, I wonder what this person's chart was like at this time? Do you ever just read other people's charts, or, you know, people that lived years ago's chart, just to see what they were like at that time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I can be watching a movie and I'll go, oh, I wonder what zodiac sign he is. Or he acts just like a Leo, you know. I'm going to have to look that up. And then you get out the phone and you check out an ephemeris and you pull up the chart. Yeah, absolutely. And when I teach astrology, I've taught astrology for, gosh, probably 15 years. When I lived in Arizona, I taught it at the community colleges. Now that I'm in Illinois, I teach at a local college. And it's typically, you know, people, adults, you know, in their 20s to 60-year-olds. And then in 2 weeks, I got invited to teach children astrology.
Oh, wow.
So I'm actually going to be teaching 10 to 13-year-olds.
Nice.
So I'm excited about that. But what was the question? I lost it.
What's the oldest person's chart you've read?
The oldest person.
Living or passed on?
Probably Gandhi. Yeah. So, I mean, he was in the 1800s. So, yeah. So I've looked at a lot of different charts. I don't necessarily remember all of them, just like I couldn't remember the damn question. So don't ask me to explain his chart. So
Have you ever been?
I love looking at different people's charts and seeing how they tick. Yeah.
Have you ever been psychically drawn to do someone's chart? Like, you know what? I really think I should do your chart for you because you just felt that need.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. When I see people going through crisis, you know, I'm like, oh, I bet you're, especially if they're in their, you know, midlife. So I'm like, oh, yeah, we should take a look at your chart. They'll probably get some good answers there. Oh, yeah. It's an excellent tool. You know, I have some people, even when I used to do tarot readings, or whatever, and you're working at a show and somebody walks by and they're like, oh, I don't want to know my future. It's like, really?
Hey.
I don't get that. And the reality is we create our future, right? I don't really know what your future is going to be. You have the choice to be able to do whatever the heck you want. So, you know, and all astrology does is it picks up on the energy of the way that things are likely to be. You know, it can tell you when you have lucky days. It can tell you when you're accident prone. You know, I mean, I actually had one 2 years ago, right around Halloween, and I love Halloween. So I had a big witches ball at my house, and I had like 30 of my friends here dressed up as witches. And we went out. I live on a busy street in a small town, and we all went out in our witch outfits with our brooms and our hats out in the front yard and freaked out all the neighbors.
Oh.
I knew you were a big ball of fun.
How
I
many
knew
for
you
sale
were
signs
fun.
came up that next day?
Yeah. But it was awesome. It was awesome. But I should have read my horoscope for the day, because my horoscope said I had like Mars opposing Mars. So it was like, don't multitask, you know, because it can cause you to have an accident. Well, after I got all the witches off on their brooms, you know, I picked up my stuff and I was going down to the basement to start to clean stuff up. And man, I took my one step and I was flying down 13 steps, and I broke my shoulder and my finger and smashed my head. And yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, so it can tell you. I pay attention to those now because it can tell you days where you can be accident prone. So I pay attention to those now.
I was accident prone a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
Falling down stuff, walking into stuff, having bruises. I don't know where they came from. And my mom is like, who are you fighting? Myself.
Girl, you need your chart just for your accident prone days.
Pretty much.
So in essence, the astrology kind of sets the baseline for your environment, but what you do with that environment is the free will aspect.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We all
Do
have.
people ask you when they're gonna die?
No, they don't ever ask me when they're gonna die, but they ask me when their mother's gonna die or when their spouse is gonna die, especially if they don't like them. But you know, I know there's a few out there. But I am not God. So I think that's between you and God. And I mean, there's aspects in astrology that we can point to and we can see, oh, you may have a health issue, but we don't do death. Yeah.
Has your psychic ability and your chart ever conflicted? Like, well, this is what it's showing, but psychically, I believe it's this, or is it always in tune?
Yeah, I haven't really witnessed that. I have had, because I'm a tarot reader also. So I do offer just tarot readings if somebody doesn't like astrology, because astrology is very scientific. It's very logical. It's very orderly. Whereas tarot, you know, is all intuitive. So, you know, I've had cards show up in readings where I'm like, what the heck? That's not what I was getting intuitively, you know, and then I'll get a pendulum out for clarity, or I'll pick more cards, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are people usually just like blown away? Like, I never even thought, like, I'm in a totally wrong career or wrong whatever. And you're like, I mean.
Well, and I personally think that we don't make wrong choices. I think that we make choices that are right for us at the time. And, you know, like it's like the food business that I had, you know, it helped me at the time, even though it wasn't my soul's calling. It was kind of like, it was something I needed to go through to find out what it is that I truly did want to do. So I don't believe in mistakes. I don't believe in wasting your time. I think that there's always a purpose for it. Yeah.
So if there is any one specific time that's probably better than most to get your astrology chart done, what would that significant thing be? Would it be, again, a career? Would it be a marriage? Would it be thought of having a children, thought of a move? When is like the optimal time? I mean, not that there isn't an optimal time, but when would be, if you're really looking to make some kind of major change, what change would be the change that you would probably want to look at the chart and say, is this the right time? What is the right location? What's my idea? That kind of stuff. What would you suggest?
anytime you get the call to do it. Yeah. So, and it is usually a life situation, a divorce, a marriage, wanting to have kids, making a move, starting a new career. Yeah, that is when people ask questions. People don't typically come to us when their life is perfect. You know? Yeah, they come to us when they have questions and they need some help or insight or advice. Yeah. So, yeah, I do think it's good to have it done every year. Just astrology, you know, just because it's a timeline, you know. I mean, it can direct us in the right direction or in a direction that will make us happy. So,
do people get their children's charts done so they can be like, oh, let me steer them in the right direction? And is that a good idea?
That's a great idea, but I don't have any clients that do that. I do a lot of charts for babies, you know, when they're first born. It's a really cool gift to give somebody. So, I mean, I've done those for my family for forever, you know, so all of my nieces and nephews and grandkids, I've done all of their charts. So, but yeah, that's interesting. I don't think we're there yet.
Okay.
You're
it just seems
bad.
like some crazy or some, you know, fanatic person's like, I want my kid to be the best everything. And so they come to you like, what should he be? What sport should they play? What career should they have? And they just kind of drive it that way. But maybe that's just me.
No, that's organized and you know, it's you said earlier you're a Pisces. That's you wanting your child to be the best they can be, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Pisces sun, Capricorn moon, Aquarius rising. Yeah. All the good stuff.
Very nice. Very nice. So your Pisces sun is sweet and gentle and nurturing, but that Capricorn moon is hardworking and practical and show me the money.
Yep.
And that Aquarius side, that Aquarius side is open-minded and philosophical and progressive. Yeah, what a fun combination you are, honey.
And she embodies every one of those things. Absolutely.
Yeah.
She does.
Yeah.
She really
He just
does.
means I'm crazy.
Oh, you're fun. You're fun. And I love that. Yeah, I love that. I love pointing out to people how cool they are, you know, because with life, we forget, you know, we get busy doing all the mundane stuff and then we forget how truly amazing we are. Yeah.
Well, super. With that said, Katherine, I think it's time we kind of bring this to a close. Appreciate your time very much. Tanisha, Angie, I think would join me in saying that this has been an amazing experience and quite fun, to say the least. So
this is very interesting.
Yeah, the one thing we'll give you one more opportunity though to sell yourself, tell people how they can reach you, connect to you, get in communication with you. Also, let them know that they can be long distance. They don't have to be sitting in your front room to have this conversation. So go for it. Tell it to give them the information they need.
Yeah, you do not have to come to Illinois. And I come to Arizona sometimes too. So, and you don't even have to be down there. So yeah, my website is KatherineMetcalf.com. It's KatherineMetcalf. And you can actually go on there, read everything about me and see all the different charts and readings that I offer. And I write blogs all the time, every month. And I write about the new moon and the full moon, and they can go get lots of good information on the website, or they can find me on Facebook at astrologer Katherine Metcalf. And I started a Patreon group this year. So that's like a personalized group of people that are really into astrology, and it allows you to make affordable monthly payments to get some one-on-one time with me. So, and it's just a monthly thing that you can join, and you can quit anytime you want. But I mean, the payments, they start at $11 a month and go up to $55 a month. So it's just fun. It's a nice community of people. It's small. I just started it, so looking for it to expand. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. So, and I'm doing teaching. I teach astrology, tarot, finding your life purpose, psychic development, all kinds of different things. So I do that online and then locally in Illinois.
Well, folks, we will put on the end of this in the trailer, we will give you the information Katherine's given to us about connecting to her via the social media aspects and everything else. And if you ever want to, if you don't find information on her page and you want to come to our page to find it to get to her page, however you want to do it. But most importantly, check it out. When my webpage grows up, I want it to be Katherine's.
You are so funny. And I have to give you a big shout out to Don, because Don and I met he was a client, and I'm like, big transitions coming for him, and, knew that he had beautiful psychic gifts. So I'm so excited to see you making this move and taking this dive into your true authentic self. So it's really exciting and beautiful thing to see.
I appreciate that. Thank you much. With that,
Yeah,
we'll say
thank
goodbye.
you guys.
All right, take care, everybody. Again, stay in touch, reach out, check out our website, check out the social media stuff, join, like, share, subscribe, all those things. And most importantly, stay tuned, more fun to come. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye, Katherine.
Bye-bye.